In a quiet Midwestern town, far from Wall Street's chaos, a boy once delivered newspapers just to save a few extra coins. That boy would one day manage billions, and never lose sight of the lessons hidden in those cold, early mornings. This is the story of Warren Buffett, not the billionaire you see on headlines, but the quiet investor, the patient teacher, the man who believed that the most powerful thing in finance was not money, to the silent road to wealth. In the heartland of America, where cornfields stretch into the horizon and the wind speaks in whispers across the plains, Warren a boy was born into modest comfort. It was time. Welcome. His name, not a prodigy, not a genius, just a curious kid in Omaha, Nebraska. But even as a young boy, there was something different about Warren. At an age when most kids were dreaming of toy trains and candy, he was obsessed with one thing. At 6 years old, he bought packs of chewing gum from his grandfather's store and went door to door selling them for a tiny profit. Later, he moved on to Coca-Cola bottles, then newspapers. Warren wasn't just playing with money, he was studying it. At 11, he bought his first stock, 3 shares of Citi's Service Preferred. For himself and his sister, the price dropped immediately and it stayed down, it soared. For weeks, Warren watched nervously, every day, checking the numbers in the newspaper. Finally, the price crept back up, just enough to sell with a small profit. He was relieved. But then, the lesson carved into his young mind: be patient, let your money work. The market is not a game of nerves, it's a game of time. That day, he made a vow. He would never again sell too soon. He would never again trade emotion for reason. And he would never ever forget the power of holding on. In those quiet Omaha streets, with nothing but grit, newspapers, and spreadsheets, the seed of an empire was planted. He wasn't born rich, and followed them like gospel. He didn't win the lottery, but he learned the laws of wealth. And so began the silent road to wealth. They say every kingdom is built on one sacred rule. For Warren Buffett, that rule was simple. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. But what did that really mean? It wasn't about never taking risks. It wasn't about hiding money under a mattress. It was about thinking before acting, about studying before jumping, about knowing the true value of something before you buy it. Buffett didn't chase trends. He didn't follow the crowd. He didn't care about hype or headlines. Instead, he read, hours and hours, every single day, financial statements, annual reports, books from forgotten shelves. He didn't just study companies, he understood them. He asked the one question that matters: if I could only own 10 businesses for the rest of my life, would this be one of them? If the answer wasn't a confident yes, he walked away. Because losing money doesn't happen in a crash. It happens in a decision, in a moment of excitement, in a rush to buy what's popular instead of what's valuable. Warren's secret wasn't in predicting the future. It was in avoiding the mistakes that ruin others. He stayed in his circle of competence, the industries he understood. He avoided debt, avoided noise, avoided complexity. He built safety nets. He called them margins of safety. He didn't buy unless the deal was so good. It felt like buying $1 for 50 cents. That wasn't luck, it was discipline. Because the truth is, anyone can make money in a bull market. But keeping money, that's a skill. That's an art. That's Buffett. Most people want to get rich fast. Warren Buffett wanted to get rich forever. He didn't rush, he wasn't in a hurry. Because he understood something most people forget. Time is the most powerful force in investing. Not skill, not even intelligence, just time. Let's do the math. Buffett made 99% of his wealth after the age of 50 and nearly all of it after turning 60. By the time he reached 91, his net worth had crossed $100 billion. Not because he found secret stocks, not because he had insider deals, but because he had one advantage no one talks about. He started early and never stopped. He began investing at age 11, and for 80 years, he let compound interest work its quiet magic. A small snowball, pushed slowly, growing with every turn. That's how wealth works. Not as an explosion, but as a whisper. Not overnight, but over decades. The world wants fast results, but Buffett knew better. He once said, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. He was the patient. He didn't try to beat the market every month. He didn't panic during crashes. He didn't trade with emotion. He waited, and the longer he waited, the bigger the rewards became. Patience, it wasn't a personality trait. It was a financial weapon. Warren Buffett doesn't just buy stocks. He buys businesses, ones he understands, trusts, and would own forever. And he has one golden rule: buy them when they're undervalued. But what does that mean? How do you know something is undervalued? Buffett looks for one thing: $1 that he can buy for 50 cents. In other words, he wants to buy into a company that is worth far more than the price it is selling for. Think of it like this. If someone sold you a $1,000 iPhone for $400, you wouldn't need a second opinion. You'd grab it instantly. That's what Buffett does. He finds iPhones in the stock market, businesses that are temporarily missed, and he buys them when no one's paying attention. It's not about trends, it's not about hype, it's about intrinsic value. And here's how he does it. He reads the company's financial statements, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow. He checks for healthy profits, low debt, and strong returns on equity. He calculates the real value of the business. Then he compares that to the stock price. If the price is much lower than the value he buys, yes, easy, no. Because it takes discipline, it takes saying no to 99 things to say yes to the one thing that matters. Buffett calls this his circle of competence. He only invests in what he understands. If he doesn't get it, even if it's the hottest tech company in the world. Because to him, risk isn't about volatility. Risk is not knowing what you're doing. Warren Buffett doesn't just buy stocks, he buys businesses. Real businesses. Ones he understands, trusts, and would own forever. And he has one golden rule: buy them when they're undervalued. But what does that mean? How do you know something is undervalued? Buffett looks for one thing: a dollar that he can buy for 50 cents. In other words, he wants to buy into a company that's worth far more than the price it's selling for. Think of it like this. If someone sold you a $1,000 iPhone for $400, you wouldn't need a second opinion. You'd grab it instantly. That's what Buffett does. He finds iPhones in the stock market, businesses that are temporarily and he buys them when no one's paying attention. It's not about trends, it's not about hype, it's about intrinsic value. And here's how he does it. He reads the company's financial statements, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow. He checks for healthy profits, low debt, and strong returns on equity. He calculates the real value of the business. Then he compares that to the stock price. If the price is much lower than the value he buys, yes, easy, no. Because it takes discipline, it takes saying no to 99 things to say yes to the one thing that matters. Buffett calls this his circle of competence. He only invests in what he understands. If he doesn't get it, even if it's the hottest tech company in the world. Because to him, risk isn't about volatility. Risk is not knowing what you're doing. Imagine a castle, solid, unshakable, but what keeps the enemies out? A moat. The wider and deeper the moat, the safer the castle. Warren Buffett looks at businesses the same way. He doesn't just want to invest in a good company. He wants one that's hard to attack. That's what he calls an economic moat. A moat is anything that protects a company from its competitors. It could be brand power, like Coca-Cola or Apple. People don't just buy the product, they buy the feeling. Cost advantage, like Walmart or Amazon. They sell more and spend less, crushing anyone who tries to compete. Switching costs, like Adobe or Microsoft. Once you start using them, it's hard to leave. Network effects, like Facebook or Visa. The more people use it, the more valuable it becomes. Buffett looks for companies with moats so strong, even a recession can't break through. Because in the long run, storms always come. The market crashes. New competitors appear. The economy slows down, but the castle, if the moat is strong enough, it survives. Buffett once said, "It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price." And the wonderful ones, they all have economic moats. They defend their ability to make money for decades, sometimes forever. Warren Buffett has a rule, a simple one. If I can't understand it, I don't invest in it. Sounds basic, right? But in the world of investing, filled with jargon, algorithms, and overly complicated models, simplicity is rebellion. Buffett never chased Bitcoin, never ran after tech startups he didn't care about hype. He focused on what made sense: railroads, Coca-Cola, insurance, banking, old industries, simple products, clear profits. You don't need a PhD in finance to know why people drink Coke, or why they fly on Delta, or why they use Geico for insurance. Buffett believes the business schools reward difficult, complex behavior more than simple behavior, but simple behavior is more effective. So he built his empire not on complexity, but on clarity. And that's where you come in. You don't need to understand everything, just what matters. If you can explain a business model to a 10-year-old, you probably understand it well enough to invest. When something seems too confusing, it usually is. Buffett says, never invest in a business you can't understand. So why do so many people ignore that? Because complexity feels smart, but smart doesn't always win. Buffett's track record proves it. Simple is powerful. In investing, in life, in everything. Keep it clear, keep it honest, keep it simple. Warren Buffett didn't become rich because he was the smartest. He became rich because he was the most patient. His investments were excellent.
Yes.
But the real magic was in time. Buffett started investing at age 11, but he earned 90% of his fortune after turning 60. How is that possible? The answer: compound interest. The secret hero of the financial world. Your investments grow, then your earnings generate earnings. And those two, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein: what you need for wealth, not your intelligence, not a huge salary, just one skill: patience. Over time, small investments grow, day by day, week by week, year by year. adding up, and in the end, while everyone wants to get rich fast, you quietly and steadily rise. This is Buffett's greatest life lesson. You can't produce a baby in 1 month by getting 9 women pregnant. Some things only happen with time. The stock market is a voting machine in the short term, but a weighing machine in the long term. If you are patient for years, the market will recognize real value and reward you. When people ask Buffett, how did you get so rich? His answer is usually the same. I'm rich because I've lived a long time, made good choices, and never interrupted compounding. Now it's your turn. Plant a seed today, make a small investment, and let time work for you. Because if someone is sitting in the shade today, it's because someone planted a tree long ago. Investing, like Warren Buffett, is not about being a superhero. It's about thinking smart, being disciplined, and trusting the magic of time. Be quiet, be patient, and remember, wealth is built over time.